How's it going, everybody? We're going live now. Um, Now today was a sweet day. It looked early on like it was gonna be kind of bad just because you know, everything about Hosmer lately is going so bad. And then first inning, was it the second batter of the day? And you see an error and everyone gets really frustrated and it's like, oh no, this is gonna be a bad Sunday. You see that the Reds are losing and it's like, dude, why can't the Padres make up any ground? Then Paddock goes on to have a fantastic start. Hosmer has a super clutch RBI double, 2 RBI double. And then eventually, Paddock probably could have got taken out a little bit early. I don't know what your thought was on that, Isaac. I thought it made sense to throw him out there for seventh. I probably would have done the same thing. But then you get, the two solo shots back to back. They take him out. Bullpen holds it down pretty well for the end. Melanson gets bailed out. And then, of course, the Cronin god himself with the walk-off home run. So that was a pretty sweet way to end it. But what were your thoughts on just this series, Isaac? Because I thought it went pretty well. Taking 2 out of 3 from a team like the Astros, I think is, very, very solid. They easily could have, ended up sweeping this series if not for kind of melting down on Friday. But 2 out of 3 from the Astros. And yeah, Nicholas just said we took 4 out of 6 from the Astros this year. 4 out of 6 from the Astros. That's pretty solid. So I'm happy with that. But what were your thoughts, Isaac?
It was a good series. I think on Friday you get Eric Hosmer, who just makes a bunch of very questionable decisions on the field, and the first one from on the play that Ha-Seong Kim made, he doesn't get to the bag in time. A 3-run bomb is given up. It's a 3-0 ball game, I believe it was, or 3-1. And then another one where a middle school first baseman probably could have fielded that one. I don't know how you missed that one. I don't think it gets much easier than that. So that first game was kind of a letdown just because of those errors. And not only that, but we didn't pick up a lot of runs. And this team definitely goes off the energy throughout the game. So if they're down, 3-0, 4-5-0, it's at least lately, not earlier in the year, but lately it's been hard for them to come back. But it was a good series overall. You take 4 out of 6 from the Astros this year, and that's a very successful team over there. So it's good to see that we're able to battle against them, put up a good fight against them, and win. Regarding Chris Paddock, honestly, he was only at 60 pitches going into that inning. I completely agreed with leaving him out there. I think that's kind of just like a hindsight situation where you look back and you're like, dang, he should have been taken out. But I would probably assume most Padre fans would have thought, leave him out there, save the bullpen, who's been taxed all year. And, he was getting a bit lucky because they were hitting the balls hard, but, and he didn't have any strikeouts. So he was just pitching to contact and he was doing it really well. And unfortunately, the Astros were bound to strike eventually.
Yeah, I thought these last 2 games were pretty huge just for this team. I mean, you look at this wild card race. They got a game on both the Cardinals and Phillies yesterday, and then today they get one on the Cardinals and the Reds. Now they have a half-game lead, so they're in a much better spot than potentially they could have been. If these games go a little bit differently. Jake Cronenworth, amazing moment there. We've seen the last 2 nights really clutch late game home runs. Yesterday we saw the 3, 2 in the 7th, 1 in the 8th, and then today we see the walk-off in the 9th. Hopefully this team kind of got a little bit jump-started. We've been talking about that for a long time. That's what they need. They need to get hot at the right time. If that's what's happening, this team has a very good chance of making the playoffs. They've played good baseball the last week. Now they need to consistently, keep playing good baseball. The Giants seem to be a little bit beaten up right now. The Dodgers are pretty hot, but the Giants seem a little bit beaten up right now. So I think that you could take, the advantage in those games that they play. I hope that they do. That would be huge. But you got to take care of business against the Angels here. And it's going to be tough. It's going to be a very tough way for them to make the playoffs. I know we talked about it earlier. What was that? I forget. It might have been Fangraphs. I don't think it was Fangraphs actually, but they said, the Padres have a 16% chance to make the playoffs. Then they won 1 game and the Reds lost, and then it jumped to 30%. So that's how basically for the Padres, they need to take care of business. They need to win a lot because even if the Reds, and the Reds have been faltering, well, then the Phillies have been super hot. So they still have to beat out the Phillies. So they have to just win these games. And if they do that, they should make the playoffs.
Yeah, right now they control their own destiny. I think a couple of weeks ago I said that the good thing right now is that the Padres are able to control their own destiny as long as they keep winning. And they were taken out of that spot for a long time now. The Reds at one point now control their own destiny. That's kind of what you want as a team. You want to be able to control your own destiny, not leave it in the hands of if this team loses and we win, we make the playoffs. Like, you kind of just want it to be, if we win, we make the playoffs. You don't want to have to rely on other teams to fail, because later on in the year, the Reds are going to be playing the Pirates a lot. The Reds are faltering a lot right now. They're 4-8 in their last 12. Lost series to the Reds, or not the Reds losing to the Reds. You're right. They've lost series to the Marlins, another one to the Cardinals, and another one today to, I believe, the Tigers. So, now is a good time for the Padres to start bouncing back. Have a series coming up against the Angels here soon, where we may have to face Shohei Ohtani, who I believe only has one loss. But the good thing is that he'll probably have to face either Snell or Darvish is kind of iffy right now, but hopefully Snell. So a lot of good ball games here lately for the Padres. They need to start taking advantage of these week. This is going to be their last week matchup of the year, so they have to sweep, and they have to start looking forward to those Giants and Dodgers series. Those are going to be huge series against two divisional opponents. And I believe only one of them is going to be at home. I believe it's going to be against the Giants at home for only one series, and the rest of them are going to be on the road against those two teams.
Yeah, so you look at this team, they've been playing really well. And I think, one of the things that we were talking about is them getting super hot. Right now, just looking at how close it is, yes, they have a half-game series against the Reds, and the Reds have been struggling, but I said the Phillies only 2.5 back, Cardinals only 3 back, Mets only 4 back. Those are the teams that are contending right now. The Padres, I think the biggest thing is that they've played really well lately. Blake Snell, I'm as confident I've been in Blake Snell all season long. I think you're the same way, Isaac. Same thing goes for Joe Musgrove. And honestly, same thing goes for Chris Paddock lately. Really with him. I know he allowed the 2 late solo innings, 3 earned runs. That's still pretty solid. And that put them in a spot to win the game. Then they go and they win the game. So I was happy with that. The only guys that I've been just as at all, don't want them throwing really that much, has unfortunately been Darvish and Weathers, which is really weird to look at, because if you would have told me that we went from, Snell and Paddock struggling super early on, and then you go to Darvish and Weathers, that's so many guys in the staff. That's 4/5 of the staff. So out of the staff struggling, 2 guys struggling almost at one point in the whole year. But now Darvish has got to come up clutch against the Angels on Wednesday, because I know that Snell's going first, then Darvish. And I would probably I'd probably have Snell against Ohtani, just because Snell has been so good. So I'd probably rock with that. But I do have faith in Blake Snell right now. Early on in the season, we did not, because he did not look good. He's been money in pretty much every start lately. Darvish, on the other hand, has struggled a lot. If Darvish can just go 6 innings, 3 earned like Paddock today, I'm super happy with that. That's not even that great of a start, but I'm all right. That's what, a 4 or 5 ERA? It's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, he's pitching good, man. I think today, unfortunately, he didn't really have that many strikeouts, but when you're able to pitch a soft contact, remember, Chris Paddock early on in his career, even right now, hasn't really been the kind of guy that's going to have 10 strikeout ball games, anything like that. He's going to pitch to contact, and he's going to thrive off that. Now, against teams like the Dodgers and I guess the Giants too right now, you can't really afford to pitch to contact too much, and you kind of have to wonder if he was getting a lot of quick outs, no Ks. That's the unfortunate thing. He needs to start getting a lot more strikeouts than 0, because and the Astros are the best hitting team in baseball statistically right now. So he did really well against that team. But as far as the rest of it, you got to wonder, will the Padres move up Jake Arrieta to maybe Wednesday's game, so that way, I don't know, you can get Darvish to pitch in one of those games against the Dodgers. I don't know how they're going to do it, but you definitely can't have Arrieta throwing a game against the Dodgers. I'd rather him throw a game against the Giants if that's necessary. You got to try your best. Yeah, go for it.
Here's what I would say I think happens. I think you move Musgrove up to Friday, so Musgrove goes Friday.
I think he's already scheduled on Friday.
Yeah, he should be, because they have the 2 off days. So I'd go Musgrove Friday, Paddock Saturday, and then on Sunday I go Snell. I think that's what you got to do.
Yeah, I think he's going to be able to throw. He should be able to throw Sunday. So, yeah, I agree with that. Darvish, have you seen what they've been saying about Darvish? Yeah, I see it right here from Micah. He's been trying to make mechanical changes because of his back. And I think, unfortunately, he has to pitch right now. Yes, sir. Unfortunately, he has to pitch right now. So it just sucks because to me, if you're not fully healthy, then and you're not able to pitch to your capacity the way you're comfortable doing it, why even be out there? But in September baseball, he kind of has to be out there.
Yeah, he definitely does. Have a quick question here, and we can also start answering all your guys' questions. I didn't really have anything else to specifically talk about. I know we'll probably get into Tingler and some of the lineups and stuff like that later, so I figured that you guys would want to know about that. But we have one from Nick right here. Does anyone think Lamet will get a start before season's end? No, I definitely don't think so.
No.
I honestly thought that they should have let him finish out that inning.
Oh,
They
yeah,
did it. It worked out. So I can't argue with it, but I thought that they should have left him in just because I was confident in him in that bat. I don't know how you felt, Isaac, but I am pretty confident in Lamet in those short stints. I think he's going to flourish in those roles. I was pretty pumped when I saw him come out for the 7th. I was like, oh, this is a setup man role. Like this could potentially be the kind of stepping stones for him to be the closer next year, even because we talked about earlier this year that we think that he should. Dude, Melanson's outing today was terrifying. Oh my god, that was terrifying. But we've thought that Lamet could be that guy. I think that and someone mentioned this to me, and I didn't really think about this before, but someone mentioned, hey, you might want to see him in those spots, in those 1-inning stints where he has to hold a lead before you move him into the closer role. I think that's fair, but maybe it could be next year's closer. Then you don't have to go after that spot in free agency because right now, I don't think they're confident in Melanson being that guy. And Drew Pomeranz looks hurt. They're kind of hoping that he turns into a good bullpen piece, I think, now. I don't think the focus is going to be on him becoming a starter anymore. I really don't. I think it's done. But I don't know. Do you think it's done, or do you think there's a chance he's a starter, even this year or even in the future?
In the future, yes. I obviously, this is also in hindsight, like I was talking about earlier, but I do think I think the surgery is inevitable if he's going to become a starter again. He should have gotten it along with Mike Clevenger. That's kind of like the unfortunate truth that you kind of have to face is that the only way he was going to come back as a strong starter is getting that surgery. And I think at least this year, there's no way he comes back as a starter just because you've seen how the Padres have managed him up to this point. Of course, it's only 2 outings, but he's had quite a few days in between days that he pitches. And I think they should have left Lamet in too. Now, I don't know if that was because of the situation they were in, how sharp he looked, or that they don't want him to throw above 15 to 20 pitches. That was one of the things that was on my mind is maybe they don't want him throwing 15 to 20 pitches. And most of the time, Dinelson Lamet will get out of an inning in 10 to 15 pitches. We know when he's on throwing 96 plus with a nasty slider, he'll be able to get out of those situations fairly easy. But as far as starting goes, I don't see him getting another start, unfortunately. And I think that was kind of a telling sign when we showed the desperacy when we signed Jake Arrieta. Seems like right now we're going to ride Darvish, Musgrove, Snell, Paddock, Arrieta. So Lamet will definitely be left in the bullpen for now, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too. It will be interesting if we ever see him as a starter again. I think that there's a chance. I definitely do, even though I think that he's likely destined for a career in the bullpen. I do think there's a chance that he stays a starter, but I think time will tell on that one. Let's see. Yeah, from Correa family, he can't even finish in late innings. He should have gotten surgery. Yeah, I think he should have got the surgery as well.
He should have got surgery.
You've seen how many times he's come out this year. I know that they wanted to get something out of him this year, but it doesn't look like that was the right move. That backfired, it feels like.
Correct.
Got another question here from Adrian. Does Gore get called up this season? Today, his outing was really interesting today. We haven't talked about that yet. First inning, he allowed 3 runs, walked 3, looked pretty bad. And then the start ended, he went 5 innings long, and only allowed those 3. He really settled down, threw 50 something out of 80 something strikes, pretty solid percentage after really struggling in the first. So he bounced back, and that was in, was it Lake Elsinore, Isaac?
It was Fort Wayne.
It was Fort Wayne. Okay. So yeah, in Fort Wayne. So he looked good. He struggled early on, but him bouncing back is definitely a big sign of progress, I think. Don't you agree with that?
Yeah, it's huge. I don't think he's quite ready for the pros. I don't know if we'll see him this year. Maybe I don't know if the rosters are going to expand again. I don't think they will. But it was great to see him bounce back a little bit. But if we're going to see you in the pros, you can't really afford to struggle in high A ball. Was struggling a little bit with pitching command at first, and maybe it was just first inning jitters because that was really his first live game action again. And you could say that his outings in the ACL were real live games, but not really. He's still facing. I mean, he was facing like high schoolers, so I don't really count that. So he struggled early on, but he was able to bear down. And I don't think that's a good sign regarding this year. I think that's a good sign more so towards next year. You'll be able to get him a lot of spring training reps and see what he's really got, see if he's ready for 2022. But as far as right now, deep in a playoff run, only half a game up, I don't really think you can afford to see him in 2021 unless it's in a bullpen role.
We got another good question here. Fam, starter, platoon, or bench? I think you platoon him.
Yeah.
But right now, you would probably bench him if you're going to keep rocking with Tatis in the outfield. If not, I mean, I don't think he should be the starter right now. I think you definitely have Grisham, Myers, and then Tatis in the other spot if that's what they're going to keep rolling with. Now, if Tatis comes back to short, I think you can platoon him with Myers and Tatis then if he's out not playing in the outfield. But right now, I think he's just a bench outfielder. Unfortunately, I know it's been, he had a really hot part of the year for a couple months, but he's been really slumping lately. And Myers has been the hottest hitter on the team. He's hitting like 360 over the last month. Like he's been absolutely balling. We both thought. So I tweeted out on Friar Talk's Twitter account, like walk off and coming. I was thinking Myers. I mean, I'm very happy that Cronin God did it, but I was thinking Myers. And Isaac said he was thinking the exact same thing because we just seen how hot Myers has been lately. Obviously had the home run on Saturday as well, but he's been when the Padres lineup has struggled this last month, like he's been the only dude that's been balling out. So I do think that you got to give it to him for now and bench fam, but potentially kind of a platoon piece depending on how everyone's doing as well. Let's see. Tatis won't come back to short until next season after surgery. That's what I would guess happens as well. I think that's what happens. Don't you think that ends up happening, Isaac?
Yeah, as much as I don't want it to happen, I think it is what's unfortunately going to happen. Obviously, we've seen the injury risk of Tatis in the outfield go down significantly because he hasn't had to dive as much. Now, that being said, I really want to see him back at shortstop. He wants to be a shortstop this year. He wants to be a shortstop next year. He wants to be a shortstop for the next 10 years, he said. So I want to see him back at shortstop, of course. But if you have to sacrifice having him in right field so that way he can be in the lineup each and every day, not get injured, I think that's what you're going to have to do.
Adrian, is this the
that's a
ESPN
documentary.
one?
Yeah, that's the MLB Network one. I haven't got to see it yet.
I thought it was the ESPN one, but it might have been that one. I feel like I saw it. I feel like I saw this one. You can find it in like small clips of like all the different parts.
Right.
You know the answer to this, Isaac? I don't know if we have to face the Dodgers' top 3 pitchers. We do?
Yeah. I don't know about their top 3. We definitely, as far as it goes right now, we do have to face their top 2 in Buehler and Scherzer. That last game, I believe it's a Sunday game, no?
The last game Sunday. It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, so that Sunday game right now, we have Blake Snell lined up. We have it lined up as Musgrove, Paddock, Snell, so maybe we won't have to move anyone anyway. So right now, it'll be Joe Musgrove against Walker Buehler, Max Scherzer against Chris Paddock, and to be determined against Blake Snell.
All right, sweet. All right, so then let's see. What's your guys' outlook on Kim so far this season? Seems pretty polarizing to fans. Either they think he's a good young player or a trade chip for next year. I wish we'd play him more. I think he's kind of destined to be a backup infielder, kind of a depth piece. Did he play corner outfield in Korea?
I don't think he did. I think it was primarily a middle infielder.
For some reason, I thought that he played left. I don't know if that's right, but for some reason I was thinking that, and I was thinking, oh wow, you even have another guy you could toss in as a depth outfielder. But he's like never played it in terms of being on the Padres, so I wasn't sure. But my outlook on him, he's a really good player for the Padres, and I don't think they're going to trade him solely because, I mean, he makes a lot of money. The reason he makes a lot of money is because he's bringing in a massive market. I mean, the dude's nickname is the Korean Prince. Like, he is a huge star there. Same with Darvish in Japan. You know, these guys are international stars, and you talk about how many Kim jerseys you see. I think Kim gets the second loudest cheers to Tatis when he comes up. I think he gets louder cheers than Machado. I honestly do. And the Machado cheers are huge. And, you know, you hear Manny Machado chants all the time. But when Kim comes up, everyone goes insane every time. So I think he's always going to be like that bench energy guy. He is a amazing fielder. He is like third in the league in defensive WAR, I think it was. Or defensive outs above average is one of the two. Like he is, and he doesn't play that much. He plays like 20% of the time. Typically. Then he did fill in for, you know, Tatis, and he's filled in a few times for extended periods of time. But I think he's in his perfect role right here. I kind of wish they would have let him play in the AAA because he has a no AAA clause, and let him play in the AAA for the beginning part of this year, get kind of adjusted to the speed, the increased speed, because in Korea they only throw it like to like 80, like it's like mid 80s. So he's going up like, I think it was like 8 miles per hour from what he had seen to like what he could see typically now. So it's pretty like extreme in terms of, you know, adjustments that he's gonna have to do. I thought he's definitely showed some positives, I think, this year, but I don't know. What's your thought, Isaac?
I really like him. I really like Ha-Seong Kim as a fielder. He's a gold. I definitely think he's a gold glove caliber defender. He makes amazing plays out there, and it's undeniable how good of a fielder he is. He honestly, after Machado, you can definitely argue he's our second best infielder as far as defense goes. Now, hitting has obviously been an issue just because he came from the KBO where I think max they topped out at 92, if I remember correctly. So obviously he hit dingers. He was hitting some bombs over there in Korea, and he made it look very easy. He's got that power. So he's got a lot of power, and I kind of think his ceiling. I think everyone knows who Colton Wong is. Colton Wong, a 2-time Gold Glover, bats .263. So I think he can be a bigger power hitter than Colton Wong, but I think that's kind of who he can possibly be at second base. And that's a good thing. Colton Wong's career batting average, .263, just doesn't have much power. So I'd love to have that kind of guy on our team, and especially as a depth piece, because I don't think there's a place for him to start right now. And maybe not even in the future either, with Abrams possibly playing second. I don't know what's going to happen there. I think the future infield is probably going to be Machado, Tatis, Abrams possibly at second, Cronenworth possibly at first. That's going to remain to be seen.
Okay, sorry, I was looking through Kim numbers. I don't know if it was those stats, but he was something super high. Maybe it was like when he's on the field. It might have been like a per game thing. Because he's not on the top of the list. I just looked right now. But I think that this is the role that we'll see him in. Have a few more comments. Opinion on Arrieta's start. I was shocked. He allowed 3 runs, but he shouldn't have allowed 3 runs. He should have had he pitched to a better start. Most of the reason I wasn't really confident in him coming in is because, I mean, we talked about it before, Isaac. It looked like he was throwing batting practice the first start for the Padres. It was just hit after hit after hit, and they only scored like 5 times or 6. I think it was 5 runs in 4 innings, but it was like 10 hits or 9 hits. It was something ridiculous. But he looked a lot better. He actually looked pretty solid. I was not expecting that at all. I don't know if we should expect that moving forward just because of how bad he's been this year. But I was happy. I mean, I was definitely happy that was the case. Should have won the game. You definitely should win the game if he is giving you a start like that as your 5th starter and a guy who they're expecting, I think, very little of. Let's see. Okay, this is a really good question, I think. Do you think firing Larry Rothschild was the turning point for the pitching?
It looks that way so far.
It definitely looks that way so far.
I mean, before we answer this one, I kind of want to just go back to Arrieta's start. I think, like, he had really good movement on his ball. It was really surprising, like, because that ball was moving. It's just the velocity wasn't there. And we brought up how it was 5 runs in 4 innings, whatever it was. If Eric Hosmer was a good baseball player, that wouldn't have happened. It probably still would have been around 2 or 3 runs, but I think we would have been able to win that game. So, overall, I don't think he had a horrible start, but he definitely needs to pick up on some stuff still.
Thank you, Michael.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Okay, let's go back to Larry because I think you're right on that.
Mm-hmm.
Also, actually, real quick before we get on to Larry, because I feel like this will kind of answer some of this stuff we're going to talk about. That thoughts on Paddock outing today? I think that I think he was great. I was happy with it. Kind of like he was one of those guys where when we're talking about with Arrieta, how everyone kept hitting off of him and getting clean, solid base hits. Paddock's one of those guys that when he's getting soft contact, and we talked about it earlier, and they're still making contact, it's always like right to guys. A lot of ground balls, a lot of little pop outs, fly outs, stuff like that. And we saw Paddock do that too. A great job today. He didn't have a strikeout, right?
No strikeouts.
So no strikeouts, go 6 innings.
I don't know how that happens.
That's really weird. That's so weird. But I thought that he was going to need to rely on the curveball generating a lot of swing and misses. I tweeted that a couple days ago, like that's the keys to win this series. Wasn't the case, not generating swings and misses, but generating soft contact. It definitely worked today. Paddock's been a lot better. I think we all got to look at that. Like Paddock has took a huge step forward. So I don't know. That's where I'm at. I know that Isaac, obviously, you're pretty happy to see Paddock balling.
Of course.
But what have been your thoughts lately? Like you think he's turned around? Like where do you think he's at? 'Cause we actually talked about him turning around not that long ago, and we brought up really good players that had similar numbers starting their career to him.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I've been a Paddock truther for everyone that's been watching for a while. They know that. I think he's looked fantastic lately. His fastball, he's consistently pumping at 96. I think, unfortunately, today, especially on those last couple pitches that he gave up the 2 straight bombs, I think one of them at least that he gave up a bomb to was around 90 to 92 miles per hour. So that's unfortunate. You don't want to see that drop off in velocity from him. I think someone brought it up about it being an anomaly. I do think it was an anomaly. I kind of think that's more attributed to earlier in his career. At least last year, he would have 2-seam run on his fastball. So I think maybe it was that kind of thing. I definitely don't think it's any sort of injury. But he had a great outing today. Unfortunately, didn't really have any. He didn't have any strikeouts. He needs to pick up on that. His strikeout numbers definitely need to jump because against really good teams that are able to hit. And the Astros are an amazing hitting team, best hitting team in baseball, I believe. But your luck isn't really always going to be there like that. He needs to pick up on the strikeout rate. Have more of a put away pitch. That curveball's been looking solid lately. The changeup's looking a lot better, and really good to see, especially because Darvish kind of fell off a little bit, and someone had to bounce back. Did we think it was going to be Chris Paddock? Probably not, but here we are.
Yeah, so then what do you think about Larry Rothschild then? I think, was he the turning point for the pitching? I think one of the big turning points has been letting the guys go longer, and I know today it kind of burned Paddock. And earlier it kind of burned Snell a little bit. Or was that with Rothschild?
Which
no,
one?
that was with Fritz. When Paddock went, what was it, 7 in this, and they brought him out for the 7th inning, or was it the 8th inning? I think it was the 8th inning. Snell, yeah, a couple starts ago, 2 starts ago.
That was Fritz.
Okay, yeah. So they've been letting him go longer. Yeah, they've got burned a couple times, but they've also allowed like Musgrove to have a shutout. I feel like a lot of these guys, and there's been a lot of like 1 inning extra from the starter, which I've liked to see, and it feels like it's worked out a lot. It also just feels like they have more faith in a lot of these starters, mainly Paddock and Snell because they've been playing a lot better, and of course Musgrove, but it feels like they have more faith, and I think that's been the biggest turning point because this team is like super momentum-based team. I wasn't super big on firing Larry Rothschild during the season. And then they fired him, and I was like, yeah, I'm happy that they fired him. Like, I was all down for it once it happened. I was like, yeah, not going to complain, that's for sure. But I think it partially was a turning point. But it definitely, I feel like, kind of provided like a spark. Like, all right, this isn't working, let's move on. And that's something that you have to do if you're a good organization. And that's what I hope the Padres continue to do. But I definitely think it was at least a positive thing.
Of course. I don't think it was like anything crazy. I don't think it was a complete turning point, but as if we brought life back to these pitches, you're starting to see them pump. I think Joe Musgrove pumped 96 on a couple of his fastballs recently, but you're starting to see more life in their fastballs. Of course, they're cutting down a little more on how many off speeds they're throwing because we know Rothschild loved his off speeds, the slider, and Matt and I were talking about how we think that such a slider dominant guy like Rothschild kind of hinders the changeup guys such as Chris Paddock and Blake Snell. Well, he leaves, and those two are really starting to flourish. Blake Snell especially has looked fantastic ever since then, and that's kind of just been the thing that has really turned around, especially his season. So as far as it being a turning point, I think it was a turning point for Blake Snell and Chris Paddock especially. Yu Darvish is a veteran. He's been around the league a couple times, the Dodgers, the Cubs, the Rangers. So he's been around. I don't think it affects him that much. He just needs, unfortunately, his back is hindering him right now. And as far as Joe Musgrove goes, that guy's just been a beast. He's been Mr. Consistent.
Yeah, I think that's very true. And you brought up Snell. Snell looks like he's almost like trying to get revenge out there lately. Like he is ready to go. He's been amazing. He's been amazing since they fired Larry Rothschild. So he's definitely the guy that's had the most positivity since then. Another question here from Adrian: is Cronenworth too good of a second baseman to move to first? I might think he is. Abrams isn't proven in the show yet. I still want to see Abrams up. I think, and I'll say this right now, we have had Abrams very, very high. We did like a Padres top 30 prospects. We did it like in the 3 videos in the preseason or during spring training. And he was our 1A. We had him at 1A. We had Mackenzie Gore at 1B. We thought that he was a little bit better of a prospect. And I don't think a lot of people did. We didn't expect Mackenzie Gore to, have the struggles that he's had this year. But I think Abrams is that future second baseman. And if Cronenworth is playing first, he's going to be a fantastic first baseman too. So I get what you're saying about it, but I think that it's just going to have the ability to make the lineup that much better when Abrams is called up. And that's why I think he will. I also would not mind at all if, I don't know who would move to first. Maybe Myers moves to first, or you have Profar and Hosmer. I mean, I know that Hosmer did good today, but I'm still put off to the idea of him being the future first baseman. But you could also have Abrams play left. I think that would make up for a super fast outfield if you have either Myers or Tatis, either one you do, and right, you're going to have an outfield that everyone's picking up a ton of ground. So, that's a very fast outfield if you do it that way as well. And I'm a big fan of that. Actually, the Astros are one of the teams that has kind of, used that of like, okay, we're going to have 3 guys that are able to cover ground like a center fielder. And we're going to have our outfield be able to, make a ton of extra plays that a lot of other outfields aren't able to make. So maybe they go that way, but that's kind of where I'm at on it.
Yeah, I think Jake Cronenworth is an amazing second baseman right now. Obviously, you can definitely keep him in there. And the good thing about Abrams, he can definitely play one of the corner outfield spots just because of how fast he is, how good of an arm he has. Definitely right field is a possibility for him. We see Tatis. There were a couple of plays today where he didn't really look like a very good outfielder, but that's just going to, when you're a shortstop all your life, that's kind of hard to adapt to those kind of plays. Those are two hard plays to make the amount of ground you have to cover. And I don't know if he lost that one in the sun or what the heck happened. I'm going to go with he lost it in the sun though. Now, CJ Abrams can definitely be a really good outfielder. I think if you get him some reps in the outfield when he comes back, especially in spring training, you plug him out there in the outfield. And who knows if Tatis is going to be ready for the season when he gets surgery. We don't know. If he's not, then you can definitely plug him in at shortstop in the meantime. But I think next year he should be ready, and he's going to be a really good ball player for us.
I just thought this was an interesting nugget right here. I read that Arrieta used the aisle stent to adjust his delivery back to where it used to be. Hopefully that's the case. I didn't hear that, but that's really interesting, Arthur. So thanks for popping that in there. Mm-hmm. And there was a good one down here. Where was it? Oh, do you see a way Weathers turns it around this year? Would it be better to send him to AAA at this point? I'm going to say AAA. Like, he's getting rocked every time. I think, to me, like, every time you throw him, it's like, what are you expecting him to do? Do you know that every single game he's pitched in, like, the last 2, I think it's since the All-Star break?
Probably.
Every start he's pitched. No, since he got hurt. Every start he's had, or every game he's pitched in, the Padres have lost. Not even start. Any game he's pitched in. So even if he's came in as a reliever. So he's getting rocked every single time. I think it's really unfair. I think he's a very talented player. I think he's going to come back and be a lot better. But I feel like if you want to talk about players getting their development ruined, this is like a prime example. I feel like just having him come out there and just get completely rocked every single time he comes out. I remember there was one of the podcasts I listened to. They were talking about it, and they were saying like, "Yeah, I was wondering, Weathers is pitching. I wonder how long it's going to take till they really hit off of him." And And then the second pitch of the game was a home run. It was like, dude, well, that was quick. And I feel bad for him. I feel really bad for him. It's just like, why do you keep throwing him? Like he needs to go and make adjustments. This is not working. He's not hitting the corners. He's throwing stuff right down the middle, or it's completely missing. He's not hitting like the outside part of the strike zone or the inside part of the strike zone. It's just hanging right over the middle every single time, it feels like. So that's where I'm on it for Weathers.
I think if he's going to have any sort of role in the MLB, it's going to be, at least right now, it's going to be as a one-inning reliever, and I don't even think you can do that, especially because we don't know what kind of inning you're going to get out of him. And in big-time games like this right now, as far as this season's going, you can't really afford to take that risk. Now, I understand, you don't want to have another Daniel Camarena situation where in the Dodgers series earlier, I think it was a couple weeks ago in that game where we went extra innings. I mean, I hope it works out for you, buddy. Where Camarena had to throw 2 or 3 innings, we ultimately ended up losing that game to the Dodgers in extra innings because Camarena, like, we all love him just because of that one moment he had, but he's not really a very good major league pitcher. So as far as that goes, I think the only role he can possibly have is as a reliever. But he definitely has a lot of stuff to work on. All of his stuff looks pretty weak right now. It doesn't look very live. It doesn't have live fastball or anything like that. Leaving pitches hanging over the plate. Definitely not hitting his corners the way he should be. So, but with that being said, he's only 21 years old. I completely warrant his struggles. I don't know what I would do in that situation. So, props to him for being able to, for how much adversity he's faced.
Absolutely. That's super fair. I mean, he's been put in a really, really tough situation. Hasn't got, what he's wanted to. You've seen how frustrated he looks up there. I do think in the long run he's going to be all right, but I am worried for him. I'm very concerned. Today was my pick if they made the playoffs, and if they lost, they'd miss them. So positivity right there as well. And kind of talking about that, do you think this could be a start of a winning streak for this team, or are you taking it day by day, especially after the past few games where you win a couple, then go back to losing again? I think you got to hope so, right? Like that's where I'm at. Like, I hope that's the case. You're looking at this team's upcoming schedule, and what are they have a lot of games against the Giants and the Dodgers. Here, I'm pulling it up real quick. Angels, of course, right now. So let's go through it. Angels, away at the Dodgers, away at the Giants, away at the Cardinals. That is going to be brutal. You're just trying to get 500, and you're trying to get hot at the end of the year, I think. Then you go at home against the Giants, at home against the Braves for 4 games. Well, 3 in like 2 innings. Then Dodgers, Giants.
Yeah, there's a lot of series against those two.
They have their work cut out for them, to say the least.
Yeah, 100%. And I think I look at the strength of schedule and it looks hard, but at the same time, the Padres have been underwhelming all year. I think they have the talent to be able to hang with those teams. I mean, right now they're 7-6 against the Dodgers. At one point they had swept them and won 3 out of 4 in LA. So that just shows, they are still a talented team. It's just they got really cold at the wrong time. So regarding that question, this is definitely a situation where you just got to take it day by day. You can't look too far ahead because it's only half a game that we're up right now. Not to mention the Reds still have a really soft schedule. They're getting cold, luckily, but we've said it in baseball, things could switch like that. And I've seen a lot of people saying, I kind of believe this also. Strength of schedule, it's tough, especially when it's this kind of schedule, but at the same time, it's a little overrated just because baseball isn't like football. It's not like basketball where, most of the time you'll have the Chiefs beating on teams like the Dolphins. The Dolphins aren't horrible, but most of the time you'll see the Chiefs just trounce the Jets. There we go. You'll see the Chiefs trouncing on the Jets. Meanwhile, the Tigers just took 2 of 3 from the Reds. The Marlins just took 2 or 3 from the Reds, and we've seen the Diamondbacks have pounced on us. The Rockies have pounced on us. The Angels pounced on us. I mean, those are really bad teams beating what's supposed to be a really good team. And I think the Padres are still that good team. Musgrove's coming around at an amazing time, like he said he would. Snell's coming around at an amazing time. So I think they can beat those teams, especially if the Dodgers lose today. We might look all right.
No, I totally agree. I definitely think that's the case. It's going to be tough, though. I think we all agree.
Mm-hmm.
I think everyone understands that. Cardinals have a huge series, and that's coming after back-to-back series against the Dodgers and the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
If you take 2 out of 3, that is so massive, even if they're a couple games back at that point, because you can get hot real quick in the year. that's what you got to do. Yeah, the Giants, Dodgers, Cardinals road trip coming up. That is going to be so difficult. That's what we talked about for the Padres. These 3 series, and they've gone 2 out of 3 the first 2, and now they have 2 games against the Angels. This is huge. This is where they need to go have a really hot series. We're talking about them winning 6 games. They need to win these next 2. Darvish needs to have a really good outing. But we're close to wrapping up on this show real quick, so I'm going to do one more question. And then we'll take off out of here. We are going to go live. We'll have a segment posted tomorrow, but we'll also go live on Tuesday before the Snell outing against the Angels. But final question, Padres Nation. This is a good one. Who would you rather have in a home run derby, Manny or Fernando? I'll let you go first, Isaac.
I'm gonna go Fernando.
You're on Fernando? Real quick, I just want to say, Padres Nation said he can't even answer his own question. It's a tough one.
It's tough. I'll go Fernando.
Okay, I feel like I'll probably side with Olivia. She said she'd go with Manny. I'll go with Manny too. I think that just like that natural, slugger of Manny, like just how he is, like he's a great power hitter. Yeah. I feel like that's like his prime, like his biggest trait is that he is a big time power hitter. Now, Tatis is just an all around superstar. Like we know this. We've seen Tatis, but I don't think that's like his biggest thing. Am I saying that Fernando doesn't have a chance to win it? Absolutely not. Of course, Fernando has a chance to win it. But both these guys would have a huge chance of winning it if they're in there. So I'll go Manny, but I like the question. It's pretty fun. I see some people, Fernando all the way, so much power. No doubt. Like he definitely does. But I feel like Manny's more of like the guy that's built for that event.
Yeah. I think I kind of go for Fernando because you mentioned guys that are built for that event. I think when you look at guys who, you look at that Dodgers series earlier in the year in LA where he hit 5 home runs in 3 games. You look at that Cardinals series where he basically saved us in that second game. You look at a bunch of big time moments under the lights. Fernando's been a superstar under the lights. Like he wants to be in those situations. He wants to be under the lights. He wants to be the superstar. He wants, because you look at how much he's handled that media attention, how good he's handled it. I think he shines under those kind of situations. And I think that's kind of why I would say, when it comes to those, Fernando's going to be the guy that you want.
Yeah, no, I definitely get that. All right, I think that's going to do it for today. Thank you all who have joined. We kind of changed it up this week, did the post-game one, just because we want to talk about the wild card race. And doing a preview would have been kind of weird for that, just because we had to wait to see about how the series went. 2 out of 3, very good. But that's going to do it. So you guys get Mr. Squatch and Isaac in. Sorry for us. Well, all right, guys, that's going to do it for today. Thank you all for listening, but we'll talk to you very soon.